Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand. Available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. Tuesday, October 17, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
To be clear, I am not Al Ferguson. I'm your anchor tonight at Queer News Tonight, Glen Weinzimer. This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Let's welcome anchor Bad Papi. Bad Papi is a Latina, gender-fluid drag artist who redefines what it means to be trans and non-binary in the Latin community. Bad Papi is also the executive director of Reflect Collective, a nonprofit that serves QTPOC survivors of sexual and domestic violence. Bad Papi is an icon for the Latin LGBTQ plus community and will forever be the baddest Papi in town. Welcome, Bad Papi.
Thanks for having me. I'm so appreciative to be here.
Okay, let's welcome Michael K. Lavers, the international news editor for the Washington Blade, the oldest LGBTQ plus newspaper in the U.S. He reports on global LGBTQ plus rights with a focus on Latin America and U.S. foreign policy. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Wonderful to be here tonight. And just as a quick, addition, I was supposed to be on a plane to Israel tonight from here in Miami. That, needless to say, is not happening because of the situation over in Israel. So just want to take a quick moment to express condolences to all of the civilians on all sides who were caught up in this horrific situation. And hopefully I'll be able to go to Israel to do my reporting at some point in the near future. But thank you so much for having me tonight.
Absolutely. Let's welcome anchor Dino Mosquera. He joined the Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival in the late 90s and now serves on the Outshine Film Festival's board of directors. Welcome, Dino.
Thank you, Glenn. Happy to represent the Outshine Film Festival. We have this festival starting this week here in Fort Lauderdale. Thursday at the NSU Art Museum in Las Olas. We have a wonderful film. It's called The Madachine Family. It's the beginning of 10 days of a festival with wonderful films from many different countries. We're going to have plenty of galas, centerpiece, femme, next Saturday for the men's spotlight. And we have a centerpiece the following week on Thursday, Glitter and Doom. And then we have women's centerpiece. We have trans centerpiece. We have tracks for Latino films. I suggest you check it out. It's going to be wonderful at outshinefilm.com. Thank you.
Absolutely. How many shows do you think you'll actually get to see?
I already have booked for 14, so that I will
in 2
see.
weeks?
Yeah, so yeah, I will. But I've seen a lot of the films because I screen the films.
Okay.
So,
All right. So you can snack through some of them.
for sure.
Okay, let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 9 books. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, runs in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome, my friend Gregg.
Well, hello, my friend Glenn. Hello, Michael. Hello, Papi. Hello, Dino. How fun to be
And
here.
we're out of time.
And if you're not doing anything Sunday, Sunday's a crazy day because it's all these different Miami Shores Pride Festival. Anyway, if you're free at 4 o'clock on Sunday, I'm going to be doing a reading with Yale Aldana at Books and Books in Coral Gables. So if you have to choose something, please choose my reading. Thank you.
I think people who are training for the Smart Ride should train early in the morning because the ride's only like a month away and head down to Books and Books and actually, do kind of a little education and a little physical activity at the same time.
Good suggestion.
Yeah.
And we should support Books and Books. They're doing a great job with the community.
They are, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
As well as the Smart Ride.
And the Smart Ride.
I just want to throw that in because it is coming up November 17th and 18th.
There you
It's
go.
our 20th anniversary, so, in case you haven't heard it once or twice on this show, it's happening. Okay. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the Queer News for today, Tuesday, October 17th. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Sea turtle season continues in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Florida has a rich environment, making it home for a unique array of animals, from alligators and manatees to iguanas and majestic herons. But something that makes Greater Fort Lauderdale special is the roughly 2,000 sea turtle nests that are built on the beaches each summer, including Sebastian Beach, one of the top-rated gay beaches in the country. Our community does its best to protect these creatures throughout the conservation projects, while still allowing the public to witness nesting and releases. After all, Greater Fort Lauderdale is for everyone under the sun, including sea turtles.
Last year in Greater Fort Lauderdale, we had over 1,900 sea turtle nests of loggerhead, green, and leatherback sea turtles. Loggerheads lay an average of 110 eggs per nest. Each loggerhead nest takes 45 to 55 days to hatch.
Sea turtle nesting season is typically from March through October. During that time, we recommend that people participate in a guided moonlight walk, so you can have an excellent chance of spotting loggerhead sea turtles without disturbing the nesting process. Scheduled hatchling releases are offered at the Ann Kolb Nature Center in July and August. This gives the visitors an opportunity to watch those beautiful little hatchlings as they scurry to the sea.
To ensure survival rates are high, we take every precaution to provide a safe nesting and hatching environment. Our nesting beaches are protected, and we have lighting ordinances throughout Greater Fort Lauderdale to provide an environment that's safe for hatchlings to emerge and make it to the water successfully.
It's an amazing sight to watch these beautiful creatures in their natural habitat.
During the season, female sea turtles crawl onto the beaches at night, lay their eggs in the safety of a nest they build, and then head back into the ocean. This unique feature of Greater Fort Lauderdale offers unique ideas to bring your partner for a date, such as nighttime tours to see the turtles hatching, special exhibits at the Museum of Discovery and Science, and more. Visit Lauderdale really is for everyone under the sun. So I've lived in South Florida for 38 years, and I lived on the beach when I first moved down here. I wasn't homeless. I was just living on the beach across. And the sea turtles were like a big thing. But back then, we didn't have the same conservation that we have now. So the lights, before they started, for those that don't know, they block half the lights out so that the turtles, when they hatch, they're supposed to follow the moon into the water. And because the light was reflecting both directions, they were heading towards A1A. And so, it was not good for the turtles or for anything. So as time has passed, they've gotten so much better with the conservation. We just didn't have that 38 years ago.
I was on vacation in Curaçao a couple of years ago at a fishing dock, and the sea turtles would gather to catch the scraps of fish from the fishermen that went out every morning, and I was snorkeling, and all of a sudden I looked up and I saw several of these just amazingly majestic, and they're huge too, and they were like 5 feet away from me, and I mean, it was truly one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. The fact that you can see that right here in Fort Lauderdale is such an amazing thing, and we should do everything we can to conserve this resource. And it's also a good date, as the ad said, bringing a date down there to watch sea turtles.
But don't step on it. Don't step on it.
But to have that experience, it's such a unique and wonderful experience.
Yeah.
You don't have to try very hard.
It's a good thing that, they are teaching us on how to protect them too, because a lot of people don't know, and it's a beautiful thing to see, but we have to respect their space. Otherwise, we could step on this.
They were here a lot. They were here a lot longer.
Right, and it's a beautiful thing that we're doing, but let's educate the community so that we can do it safely and everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have to protect nature just as everybody has to protect us, right? That's part of the world and the natural order. We really have to stand up for the underdogs and make sure that everyone has their space in this earth.
Definitely.
I mean, being here, moving here from Chicago 10 years ago, it's amazing the stuff you see here that you would never see. Sea turtles or manatees or alligators or peacocks and peahens or all the lizards in Chicago. Well, you see a lot of snakes. But anyway, I'm just grateful to have all these wonderful natural wonders close at hand. I'm very grateful.
The nice thing about the turtles too is that their benefit for the environment travels, because as they go back into the sea, their migration is very far out. So anything that they pick up along the way, whether it be crustaceans or algae and stuff, they then take and help with the the crustaceans and stuff going further out and setting up new nests and food sources for other animals.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually it's not just
True.
Not just cute and pretty, but there's actually an environmental benefit for them. Yeah, without a doubt.
We all impact each other.
Yeah.
All of us.
Absolutely.
Well,
You're up.
Yep. Anyway, let's queer up drag culture. Historic San Francisco bar, The Stud, opens up drag school. San Francisco's oldest LGBTQ plus bar, The Stud, has announced plans to create California's first school dedicated to the art of performing drag. The bar partnered with the arts organization Counterpulse and formed a nonprofit to open what it has dubbed the Stud School of Drag. Organizers say the goal is to tap into San Francisco's rich history with drag, especially with the Stud being one of the city's oldest drag venues. Honey Mahogany, a co-owner of the Stud, will also be the school's first headmistress. Mahogany believes that with the establishment of this school, people will not have to look far to find the city's rich history with drag. The school will offer a curriculum centered around both performance and drag tradition. The Stud School of Drag said all genders, sexuality, and ages over 21 will be welcome to apply. Classes will include the ancient and modern histories of drag, drag marketing, and promotion, along with topics such as Makeup 101, creating character through costuming, and lip syncing. The school will make a formal call for applications after the Stud reopens in its new spot early next year. According to the announcement, evening classes will gather weekly and will be taught by drag queen subject experts. So I think this is exciting news as a drag performer myself. I had a very difficult time trying to find my place in the drag community. There's not a lot of drag kings out there. I had to go to YouTube. I was trying to figure out, well, what do? I don't even know. Actually, Bad Papi came to me in a dream. I kind of half was awake and I shot up and I was like, Bad Papi. It just came out of nowhere. But I'm really happy that they're finally having something out there like a school, a dedicated school to help drag performers like me come into their character and really grow and to flourish and to prosper, because drag artists are really important, especially with all the laws that are being done in this country.
And drag is such an important part of our community's history, and whether that's in San Francisco or here in South Florida, DC, and to have something that celebrates that and encourages that is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how drag has evolved in the last few years. I had to credit in big part to RuPaul's Drag Race. Obviously, Honey Mahogany came out of RuPaul's Drag Race season 5. So, but you know, she didn't go that far in the show, but she's made her impact. You see, and she's improving the drag community in San Francisco. And like you said, you know, there are different kind of drag that we don't get to see or know. You know, like you're talking about drag kings community in Miami or in South Florida. We don't have that many places. You know, that needs to change. And things like this, you know, changes the communities. And in San Francisco is always one of those ground places, you know, that break, you know, the feel for future, you know, the future of drag. So I hope we replicate that here in South Florida.
For sure. And it was nice to hear a good news story.
Lord, do we need it.
Did my heart good. And school is in session with Professor Honey Mahogany.
That's right.
It's true, but not in South Florida.
No.
Oh, I wish. But you know, another important thing to consider is that drag is also a resistance. You know, this is us resisting and being present and able to exist as queer people. So thank you so much to the creators of this school.
Next, let's queer up education. Voters in Iowa community to decide whether to give city council more control over library books. Voters in a small Iowa city will decide in November whether to give their city council more say over what books the public library can and cannot offer. A ballot proposition in Pella, a community of about 10,500 residents in central Iowa, asked voters if they support changing the structure of the Pella Public Library Board of Trustees. The change will limit the board's authority over the library and give the city council more control over library policies and decisions. The effort follows attempts by some community members 2 years ago to ban or restrict access to Maya Kobabe's LGBTQ+ memoir, Genderqueer, at the library. The library board had voted to keep the book. The present referendum will make the library board an advisory committee that makes recommendations to the city council with no formal authority. The referendum comes amid a push in conservative-led states and communities to ban books. Such efforts have largely focused on keeping certain types of books out of the school libraries, but the American Library Association say they now extend just as much to public libraries. Referendum supporters say the changes will give taxpayers more say in how public money is spent. They frame the proposal as a way to keep material they view as pornographic and harmful away from children. This is Florida legacy. I hate to say that. And Ron DeSantis, you know, one of the most harmful things that he's done, among many things, is start this movement of, you know, banning books in schools and now in public libraries. But kudos to this little town in Iowa for passing, you know, for trying to, you know, to prevent this and to stop this from happening. It needs to continue.
Yeah, it definitely has his hoof prints all over it.
Yes.
And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Iowa can sometimes be an acronym for idiots out wandering around, and they never hesitate to prove that it's true.
I hear these types of stories and I think of places like Cuba or other countries from which I have reported in my career that are flat out dictatorships or authoritarian. We can talk about Florida as well. I mean, Ron DeSantis thinks he's kind of a caudillo or something at various times. But, you know, and I think of, you know, this is the example that we're wanting to portray to the rest of the world, like in Iowa, but I also think of my mother in New Hampshire who says, like, don't these folks have anything better to do with their time or their place in office than to try to ban books or, like, discriminate people? Don't y'all have, like, roads to fix and, you know, encourage, like, better public education. Like, why? I mean, well, not naive, but like, why are you focusing on this stuff?
And why not trust parents to make the decision what they want their kids to read?
Right.
You know, there is a safety net there. It's called your parents, and if you know, obviously not everyone's going to have parents that are going to agree with everything, but at least it's made on a family level, and it's not a restriction by the government that says you can't read this. You know, because then you can still, as an individual in a family, get the book and read it in secret, or you know, if there's something that you're really interested in. But to outward ban books is just a horrible reminder of the past, and eliminating people and subjects, and it's
not
just
where
a
we
horrible.
should be in 2020.
Right.
And unfortunately, there are too many states between Texas and it's Tennessee, some of the others that are banning books and taking away those rights.
And I'm always fine if you want to, you know, forbid your kids to read certain books. But don't forbid everybody else's kid from reading these books.
Here's the thing about these politicians. They know that education is liberation, right? And when you ban people from educating themselves, you're also simultaneously preventing them from attaining that liberation, right? And they don't want us to exist. And that's exactly why they're doing what they're doing.
Right. Well, it shuts down the conversation.
Exactly.
There's no conversation if you can't read the books, so you can't have a conversation about it, because that's the next step. You can't read it, but now you can't talk about it. It's the don't say gay bill. You don't say gay, we don't exist. You know, you have to say the word.
You have no power in that situation when they take away that word.
Right. And kids are going to get this information anyway.
Yes,
let's be real about it.
There's an internet out there.
You know, I mean,
It's about taking the power away from
But they also frame it as pornography. And we all know it's not pornography to read a child's book.
To dehumanize us as well.
Right. To say that's what we do, when in fact they're stories that every child should learn. So, and you know, just has to have the word gay in it. It doesn't even have to be a gay story, and they eliminate it. So, anyway.
Next, let's queer up politics. Ron DeSantis suffers another loss at the hands of Florida's first gay Latino lawmaker. Anti-gay Governor Ron DeSantis often touts his record during the pandemic, even though it's largely a myth. Florida ranks 4th in the country in total deaths, behind California, Texas, and New York, and in deaths per capita, Florida ranks 22nd. Now, after 2 years of denying that detailed COVID-19 data relating to 2021 infections and vaccines existed, and then being forced by a court to turn it over, Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida Department of Health have agreed to a settlement that will require the state to disclose coronavirus data on its website and pay attorney fees for attempting to circumvent state public records law. The settlement, announced by the Florida Center for Government Accountability, a nonprofit public records watchdog that sued the state on behalf of former state rep Carlos Guillermo Smith, requires the department to publish detailed COVID-19 data on the Florida Department of Health website and pay $152,250 in legal fees to attorneys representing FLCJA and Smith. Florida's first out gay Latino legislator, Smith, first took office months after the Pulse nightclub shooting and is now running for state senate. First of all, can we all just take a moment and revel in the shaming of Governor Death Sentence? I mean, just
DeSantis,
breathe it in.
Disaster.
Enjoy the pleasant floral scent. Second, Carlos Guillermo Smith, you have my vote.
You know, I think, you know, it highlights, you know, like, I forget the exact saying, but, you know, like, I'm losing my train of thought, but like having stuff become public is the best antiseptic to things that should not be happening.
No, right.
And, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, good for the former lawmaker for doing this.
Like, as someone with a master's in epidemiology, I can tell you that it was a complete public health disaster what happened here in Florida. So much misinformation, so many deaths, so many things that could have been prevented if we had a better leader. And it was atrocious. like.
And the fact that he did it for politics makes
Right.
it more offensive.
And he claims that one of his, victories, like somehow he's turned this around to make it one of his, standards for his campaign. He should be ashamed of what he did. I mean, didn't he fire that poor woman? Wasn't she in the Tampa Bay area that was fighting against this and to publish his data? During one of the worst things that had happened in public health in this country in years, and he was actually trying to hide these facts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's shameful.
There was data that came out because I was listening to this story earlier on the news, and the belief is that those that were 65 and older were at the highest risk of dying from COVID. But when they see the data that came out, it turned out it wasn't that group that was dying at the highest numbers. It was other groups in other geographic areas, and they weren't being addressed as you're at a higher risk, so take on additional precautions, because the data was never released to let people make educated decisions. We believed in certain areas that we weren't as susceptible, so people were a little bit more careless, and if the data would have made a difference in people's lives.
I have most of my extended family is on the west coast of Florida, so Bradenton, Fort Myers, and of course you were terrified for all of your loved ones during the pandemic because we didn't know what was happening, especially at the beginning, and to see them living in a place where you had all of this, as you were just saying, all of this misinformation and just lack of regard, and the fact that the response was motivated by political aspirations is just beyond appalling. Just like people that I hear about, and like I have a lot of friends here too. I mean, it was just it was just sickening to hear some of what was going on.
And now picture him on the world stage as trying to be the president of the United States, but taking that and then multiplying it by 50.
Yeah. And I think the saddest part about it was that it wasn't like people like Ron DeSantis that were mostly affected. It was the gay community who had HIV, who literally were susceptible to dying from COVID. It was the Black community who literally didn't have the precautions. It was the vulnerable, marginalized communities here in Florida that were being mostly impacted by this pandemic. And shame on you, Ron DeSantis, for doing that.
And knowing because he knew he was going to run for president. So this was with all that intention, knowing that, he was going to mobilize this base, of crazy Republicans, that now he uses this as, look, I'm the one fighting for you. I'm the one that is representing you. I'm going to be more Trumper than Trump.
Well, his presidential aspirations have not gone the way that he would have liked. So perhaps there's a silver lining.
And let me tell you, it's no wonder we have laws like the gender affirming ban on healthcare and youth, and it's no wonder we have laws that is now allowing doctors to discriminate based on LGBT status. There's no surprise here, because we have one of the most authoritarian dictator leader in this country.
Our state is nothing to be proud of. Okay. Now for a sneak peek of this week's headlines in South Florida, on stands Thursday and online always.
This week in South Florida, powered by Queer News Tonight. I'm South Florida senior reporter John Hayden. In this week's issue, trans women on the rise. Another South Florida Black trans woman is getting a high-profile appointment. Also, more cheers than tears. Political allies gather to celebrate the life of Ken Keachel. And celebrating seniors. I preview this weekend's Active Aging Expo. I'm John Hayden. Those stories and more in South Florida, on stands and online. And follow me on Instagram at John Hayden Journalist for breaking news and live updates.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's Queer News headline with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the worldview. India's Supreme Court fails to legalize same-sex marriage. India's top court declined to legalize same-sex marriage and left it to Parliament to decide, agreeing with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government that the legislature is the right forum to rule on the contentious issue. The order by a 5-judge bench came as a huge disappointment to the large LGBTQ+ community in the world's most populous democracy. Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud said there was a degree of agreement and a degree of disagreement on how far we have to go on same-sex marriage. The court left it to a panel, suggested by the government, to address, quote, human concerns, end quote, of same-sex couples. Members of the LGBTQ+ community were seen coming out of the court in tears after the verdict.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up politics. 15-year-old gives Ron DeSantis verbal smackdown, gets kicked out of GOP event. A 15-year-old political journalist named Quinn Martin was kicked out of an event organized by New Hampshire Republican Party because he once asked Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a question whose answer made him look foolish. Martin has received press credentials to cover the event. However, a Republican woman removed him from the summit, accusing him of misrepresenting himself to gain access to the event. The alleged question was asked at the campaign event on June 27th by Martin to DeSantis about former President Donald Trump's repeated refusal to concede his loss in the 2020 presidential election. DeSantis tried to dodge the yes or no question, but he failed miserably. And on top of that, his response went viral, adding to his embarrassment.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up education. 4-H Club erases LGBTQ plus message, leading to students quitting. 3 kids who are part of the Lauderdale, Iowa 4-H Club are quitting after window painting they did that included a rainbow was removed by one of the club's leaders. On Sunday, October 1st, the kids were painting store windows to recognize National 4-H Week and bring attention to the organization. Besides using the name of the club, they urged people to join the club with a rainbow drawn directly under the message. The following day, as they drove past, they noticed the rainbow was gone. The family of these children thinks the club leaders could have come to them first before taking it upon themselves to remove the rainbow.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. Financial issues led to postponing of LA Outfest Gala. The Los Angeles-based Outfest LGBTQ plus film festival has postponed its annual Legacy Awards Gala and paused its programming amid staff layoff and financial issues. Last week, the nonprofit organization's board of directors confirmed in a statement to The Hollywood Reporter that it will be scaling back its operation for the next several months, including postponing its annual gala fundraiser, which was scheduled for October 22nd. According to the board's notice, the organization will initiate leaves for the majority of the staff while creating a financial model that prioritizes the LGBTQ plus community, offers supporting ambience for the staff, and ultimately protects the organization. Against the backdrop of this unfortunate news, the importance of the upcoming Outshine Film Festival in Fort Lauderdale increases for the LGBTQ plus community.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. Madonna kicked off her career-spanning celebration tour after facing health issues. Madonna's celebration tour kicked off in London at O2 Arena, marking her first performance since suffering what her manager called a serious bacterial infection that led to hospitalization in an intensive care unit for several days back in June. On stage, Madonna talked about the crazy year she had and that neither she nor her doctors thought she'd make it through. She said her children spurred her on. The opening night of the tour also marked the 27th birthday of daughter Lourdes Leon, who appeared on stage with her mother. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells this type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Glen Weinzimer, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Bad Papi, Michael K. Lavers, Dino Mosquera, and Gregg Shapiro, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you good night.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ plus community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.